Welcome to Wesley Impact. This is the television program of Wesley Mission, where we do our best to share with you the work that we do every day of the year, both in our community services and also in our congregational life. At Wesley Mission, we believe that every person matters to God. We feel called to serve people in need and to be a positive influence in our community and to share the Christian faith which underpins all that we do. God cares for every person. And Wesley Mission, well, we're here for you. Now, I have a special friend joining me in the studio today, Stephen Baird. Stephen heads up the Australian arm of the International Justice Mission, IJM, the largest anti-slavery organisation in the world. And then afterwards, I'll continue my 2021 Vision series, focusing on being willing and prepared to go wherever and to whoever to share the good news of the gospel, to be people with hard feet. But first, last week, we saw the first part of a 20-minute documentary looking at the work we do to engage our tenants in Wesley Community Housing. We run a number of community engagement days that are designed to build connections and community amongst our tenants.
We're at Miller, Western Sydney. Community engagement is where the tenants come together to engage with each other to build community.
My name's Darren and I work for the Royal Botanic Gardens. We partner with Wesley Mission, they make contact with us. The program that I'm involved in is called Community Greening, and we promote the health benefits of gardening and horticultural therapy.
Well, food is connection. Food is where families come together, where friends come together, and that's where communities start. And it's a much more casual situation to, have the chats that you need to, and you connect over food.
Okay, you ready? You might want a little napkin under that. We're all part of the engagement team, and part of my responsibility is cooking the barbecue. I'm going to cook up around 50 sausages today. They usually come back for seconds, thirds. It all depends how well I cook it. As you can see, that one, it's a little bit too well done, but believe it or not, some people like it like that. What I do at Wesley Mission is property manage, properties owned by Land and Housing. We also do look after some of the SDA properties for Wesley Mission. The primary role is to maintain, upgrade, and make sure that we do repairs when required. Just basically keep the buildings in good order and in working order. We came across a tender which was being offered by Land and Housing, and we put a submission in. We won at least 3/4 of it. It's all about upgrading the units, and some of those upgrades involve renovations of kitchens, new flooring, new paints, new electrical items. Renovations are important is because our tenants living here, because they live here for quite a while, their kitchens have grown old. This was the best opportunity to do the whole complex in one big hit, especially when we've got the funds behind us. Basically, what it says to our tenants is that we do care, we are listening. We're listening very carefully to understand what they want and what they need.
Onion, please.
Onions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Days like today, where we get people together around meal, around food, around company, are critical. It's about establishing community and connection with each other, but also with our team, so that we are able to better serve and to empower people to live the life that they deserve, they richly deserve.
So we have lots of properties from Newcastle all over Sydney, and there's very different stories for each person that comes. And nobody is a number, everybody is a person to us, and we care about each of their stories. A lot of people think the only tenants that come to live at Wesley Community Housing have been on drugs or had problems with drinking, but a lot of the guys here have just been through unfortunate circumstances, and it can happen to anyone. You can fall into homelessness. You don't have to have bad choices for things to happen for you to become homeless.
It's across the board. I'd say the singles are probably more likely to reach out and say, I'm struggling, whereas I think the families are a bit more head in their sand. We will house anyone from 16 all the way through to 100 if they need housing, and that they can sustain a tenancy with support or without support.
So we're just going to put some mulch on the gardens just to beautify the gardens and tidies it up. So in between what we're doing with the table, maybe a little bit of planting, we'll look at a few areas in the garden that needs sprucing up, and we'll put a bit of mulch around just to tidy it up. We'll just put the last of this on.
Yeah, you throw it down and we'll also... Give me the bag, bro.
You know, I work with a lot of people with Wesley Mission, and the thing that really stands out for me are the stories. You know, everyone's got a story. You know, you could write a book, you could write a bestseller.
Easy.
Sometimes I feel as though I've got more from the activity than they have, because just hearing their stories and sharing what they've been through in their life, it's pretty special.
It's been an interesting life, but I won't go into any detail about it.
Give me a chair, George.
It's I'm still affected by what my past was in many ways, but because I've got a stable environment, I'm able to deal with that in what I perceive as a lot of positive ways.
Yeah, just about. I think that's got it.
All right, well done. Good job, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Smells great. What can I
Move
say?
on, do we?
Oh yeah, it's better.
Okay, maybe down here. Yeah.
So this garden we put in, it was probably 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the first time we put it in, we planted a whole heap of herbs and different annuals, like some lettuce and some spinach and a few other bits and pieces. Pretty much now ready to pick. Yep. Beautiful, ready to go.
Right, now we have over here some lettuce. I'm going to take the whole top off then. I'm going to be a bit rough on it today.
We've got some parsley over the back. Maybe we can put some parsley in the...
We've got a little bit of parsley
in the wrap.
coming up.
It's a luxury that I've never had before in this life, being able to walk outside the door, take about 20 steps and pick a bit of lettuce for lunch.
Now there's several different varieties of lettuce in here. You might be able to see some of the difference in them. Yeah, right, that's a lettuce too, as is this.
I got this chilies, hey.
Oh, beautiful.
Look at that, bro.
Are these yours?
Yeah, the Mexican stuff.
Oh no, they're hot, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. These chilies were planted about 3 months ago down Ashcroft, Harrison Street.
George loves his chili, so he's the go-to person. Anything about chilies, George knows. And he's also our taste tester.
I'm from Mexico, Mexicano.
Yeah.
So what do they like, George?
They're very hot.
But he loves them hot.
Yeah.
I'm tempted.
Yeah. They're hot.
With the garden, caring for that, growing the chilies, sharing that with each other, the sharing of themselves is like an opening up of who they are, and that makes them feel like they trust us to open up and share with what's going on in their lives. Brad's coming with some wonderful things from the garden.
We have some basil.
Basil?
Be very careful of the chili.
Oh, chili, yeah.
Yes, they're George's.
How hot's this chili?
How hot can anything be? That's how hot that chili is. We got some lettuce, and that's about it. I grabbed a few small leaves of spinach too, which might go nice.
Spinach, that would be nice. We've got a grant for healthy well-being for mental health, and part of mental health is eating healthy food so that your mental health can be stable. And we find that people that eat a lot of junk food, their mental health tends to be a little bit more unstable, but tenants that eat a healthy diet and do regular exercise tend to have better mental health. A lot of people have food from different cultures, so it's also nice to show them what we eat here in Australia. We like to do at my home is do ham, slice of cheese. The guys love the red onion here. So we're going to use a little bit of the lettuce from the garden. Part of life skills is learning how to eat healthily. They can help each other. So if somebody's struggling, they're not feeling well, they're sick, then they can make a sandwich or use those life skills to help their neighbour. I think it's important for us to see that every block is different, every person is different, and the way that we help each different block is going to be different from the next.
How many drills you got?
Your one.
We're just putting the slats on this table, ones that they painted this morning. I served my time as a carpenter in joiner many years ago. Worked all the big projects. Stopped work about, I was 66, I was still working. And then the labour hire company said, I'll put it right on the end there so you can knock it down. That's it. Hold it there, give me a couple of screws. Just put a screw,
with the head.
And I've been doing this for quite some time too, I think. How many years now, George? 5 years. Making up all the planter stands and different places. It's something that everyone can participate in. It's not just one person or whatever. Everyone can come out and do it if they want to. Nobody's left out.
Friendship, trust and community. Since we've been coming to the Miller property, doing barbecues and community engagement, there's been a lot of trust with the clients, each other.
How's that? Oh yeah. Oh, it's got this in it.
We're made for connection. We're made for connection with one another, obviously connection with God as well. And days like today just reinforce that, provide opportunity for that. For people who might find it easy to stay in behind their door, it gives them the reason to come out beyond their door and to connect with others. And I think that's critical for mental health. I think it's critical for well-being. I think it's critical to have that hope for the future.
Most of these guys here live by themselves, and it's really lovely to be able to sit at a table and connect like a family. So that's what I love, bringing the family back to the table and connecting each other in the community with each other.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Lisa and the team do a fantastic job at the Community Engagement Days. They brought a great energy that they've passed on to our tenants who are now benefiting from the communal table, as well as the garden patch, where they continue to grow their own food. Now I'm joined in the studio today by the leader of the International Justice Mission in Australia, Stephen Baird. Welcome, Stephen. Tell us, what's the International Justice Mission, or as I know it, IJM? What's it all about?
We're the world's largest anti-slavery organisation. Right now there's actually 40 million people held in slavery, more than ever before in human history. That looks like, women in sex trafficking in India, boys and men in Thailand on fishing boats, or even online sexual exploitation of children in Philippines. So we're all about ending that. We have had over 70,000 rescues in our time as an organisation, but there's much more to do.
Now you now have a presence in 33 communities in 23 countries around the world. When did IJM start?
Gary Haugen, who in 1997 started it in Washington DC, and he was sent by the American government to Rwanda in the aftermath of the genocide. And what he saw during that was, when violence is left unchecked, the path out of poverty for these people becomes next to impossible. So he founded International Justice Mission all on the idea of we need to protect people who are in poverty from violence.
It's a staggering figure you just shared before, 40 million people. What are some of the injustices that IJM is working to overcome?
Yeah, three broad areas of casework for us. So there is violence against women and children, police abuse of power, and all the various forms of slavery. Shortly after I started, I heard the story of Raja, and he was 12 years old in India, and his sister was getting married, and as the tradition was there, the parents needed to, fund that wedding. Now, they were invited to work in a brick kiln, and actually his parents ended up disappearing for 2 years, held there by the owner with a debt they could not pay back. Now, Raja was looking after his younger brother, but he missed his parents, so he ended up virtually knocking on the factory door and finding a way in, but of course then he got held in slavery. Now, after 2 years, IGM came in and rescued Raja and others in that brick factory. And, you know, the wonderful thing about Raja, following his restoration, he's gone on to become a lawyer. And he now works for the IGM office in India, ensuring that what happened to him can't happen to other people.
What drives IGM to do the work that you do?
No, it's a good question, because at times it can feel overwhelming just with the size of the problem, you know. This industry is estimated to be worth $150 billion. But what we have seen is success in tackling it. Now, in my first month, I was invited to the closing down service of our Chiang Mai office. And I kind of had mixed feelings about it. I thought, well, that's unusual. Why are we closing down an office? What I came to find out was in Chiang Mai, they'd been there for, you know, towards 20 years. In that time, they'd done the job. Local authorities had it in hand. So when you can see the success in a region, that's very motivating, because we know we does work. So, you know, we'll go into other countries where there's need now.
What motivates you to do the work that you're doing?
Look, I really enjoyed the corporate world. I enjoyed sort of the leadership of teams. I liked the marketing where I was, the general management roles. But the pandemic hit. And being in the airline industry, that was a good chance for a lot of us to think, where do we want to be?
Yeah, reset.
Time for a reset. And I'd always had a bit of a stirring to help those, you know, in need. You know, I saw a great opportunity to apply my business skills to an organisation that was growing, doing such fantastic work. And, you know, for me, the Christian principle of being, you know, with the vulnerable and solidarity, this was a great chance to sort of combine that Christian vocation with my business skills.
I'd encourage you to find out more about International Justice Mission. Please visit their website. The address is on the screen now. We really commend the work that they do, not just here in Australia, but around the world. And it's vital work, it's important work, and it's work that's transforming lives and transforming communities.
I think people are amazing. We can turn dark to light. We can fly through storms. We can change worlds, but we can't always do it alone. If you need help, we could work together. Find out more at wesleymission.org.au. We are here for you.
If Wesley Mission can be of help to you or a loved one in any way, please get in touch. We're always ready to extend a helping hand. Our contact details are on the screen. We are partway through a sermon series I titled 2021 Vision. I shared this sermon with Wesley Mission people earlier this year, and today I'll continue on the theme of having sharp minds focused on working for justice.
We're guerrilla grafters, and guerrilla grafters don't just graft new branches, they also get into the dirt and they start pulling weeds. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a gardener, I'm not, Sue is, you will know that if you're going to be a successful gardener, you don't just plant new seeds or seedlings. You also have to constantly be pulling weeds, because the weeds will choke the life out of any new growth. And for me, that's an image of what it means for us to work for justice. If we're going to be an organisation that continues to work for justice with the minds that God has given us, we'll be people who are prepared to go to the forgotten and forsaken places and pull weeds, dismantle systems that oppress and lay people under suffering. Pulling weeds gives space for green shoots to thrive. And that weeding is a constant necessity in establishing life in any soil. And our call is to join our hands with others in pulling the weeds of injustice and inequity, whoever those hands belong to. And here's the good news. Our rich heritage, it gives us so much. It gives us so much to enable us to do that successfully and with confidence. It equips us with methods and motivation. This is the good news. I mean, the man whose name we have borrowed, John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement and a father of the evangelical movement. Towards the end of his life, in fact, 8 days before the end of his life, he wrote a letter to a young man who was a parliamentarian at the time called William Wilberforce. Wilberforce had only just entered Parliament, but had been captivated by the idea, unpopular at the time, that slavery should be abolished across the British Empire. And at the time, and that was a monumental task because 80% of British income from overseas came through the slavery movement. I mean, this was an enormous, oppressive system, making people ridiculously wealthy. All sorts of opposition in front of him. And so Wesley writes to this young Wilberforce 8 days before his death, and he says this: "Unless God has raised you up for this very thing, you will be worn out by the opposition of men and devils. But if God be for you, who can be against you? Are all of them stronger than God? Oh, be not weary of well-doing. Go on in the name of God and the power of his might." In 1790, Wilberforce introduced his first abolition bill into the British Parliament. It failed, as did numerous bills thereafter. For the next 17 years, he faced opposition, he faced derision. He almost gave up on numerous occasions, but then in 1807, the tide turned. 17 years after the first bill was introduced, the slave trade was abolished across the British Empire. And then in 1833, days before Wilberforce himself dies, slavery itself was abolished. This is our heritage. This is our story. Minds sharp, focused on rooting out injustice wherever it sees it. And so our need is to have the same resilience and determination of a gardener pulling weeds. To have sharp minds who see where injustice is and join with others in pulling those weeds to allow life to grow. And in doing so, we have this hope, articulated by Martin Luther King. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Amen? Amen? So we're called to have soft hearts, sharp minds, hard feet, feet prepared to embody good news wherever and to whomever. You know, it's estimated that across the 3 years of his public ministry, Jesus walked 3,000 dusty miles. 3,000 dusty miles. And he walked those miles through the rural regions, towns and villages of Galilee, Judea, even Samaria. The truth is, Jesus didn't spend much of his time in the corridors of power. You never would have found Jesus in Pitt Street, Martin Place or Macquarie Street. He was there only briefly. More often than not, he was in the dusty streets of the forgotten and the forsaken places. And over 3 years, more than 3,000 miles, his sandaled feet would become hard and calloused. But in doing so, serving and dignifying the forgotten and the forsaken, people like the woman at a well in Samaria, or a tax collector in Jericho up a tree, or 10 men suffering with leprosy, desperate for healing. He was always dignifying and serving the least of these. And so our call, if we're to continue the work of Jesus Christ in word and deed, is to have hard feet. Feet that will go wherever or to whomever Jesus directs. Wherever the forgotten places, whomever the forgotten people. And as we go to those places and those people, we carry with us good news. Good news of God's love and grace, that it is for all, that it is abundant, that it is overflowing, that God loves all his children.
Soft hearts, sharp minds, hard feet. And next week, I'll talk about Wesley Mission having open hands as we seek to do all the good we can wherever we are and to support whoever we come into contact with. I hope you can join me then when it all comes together in the context of our Word and Deed ministry.
At Wesley Mission, we see kindness change kids' worlds. You can find out more at wesleymission.org.au. We are here for you.
As always, please be in touch with Wesley Mission if we can be of help to you or a loved one in any way. Our contact details are on the screen now. Our doors are always open and we are ready to extend a helping hand however we can. I'll be back at the same time and same place next week, and I hope to see you then. Every blessing to you and to those you love.